Hey, how's it going? And today I'm going to show you how to turn your Mixamo character into your main character in your game. And this is actually not that hard to do. And this also can be not just for a game, but it can also be for animating or telling a story visually. So that's really, if you're going to use player character animation to tell a story, it really open up a world of possibilities for you. So it just looks like something like this. You've probably seen this before. But here's our player character, and he's just walking there. See, I hit left shift, he's running. And see it this way, he's walking, shift, he's running. And I'll be back in just a minute to get started with this. Okay, I'm back. And so to get started on this, there's quite a few little things we need to do, but this honestly is not very difficult. And I would suggest doing this like 4 or 5 times until you get very comfortable with it, because this is such a valuable thing to know how to do, because you can then have basically any Mixamo character be the main character in your story. And that gives you so much potential for not only storytelling, but also for filming too. So anywho, let's go ahead, and I'm going to kind of start in an unusual place here, but we're going to go into input here because we're going to need to create functionality for run, and there isn't one right now. So we're going to create an input action for run. So we're just going to right click, go to input, input action, and I'm going to call this IA underscore run. And this is going to be affiliated with the left shift button. This functionality is not in the third person template right now, and we're going to add it. So we're going to go to input, we're going to go to IMC default, double click that. Then we're going to add a mapping by clicking that plus button, and we're going to add the IA run we just added. Then with that selected, we're going to hit that little arrow, and we're going to add a keyboard press. We're going to associate this with the left shift. So this is the same as the keyboard bindings we used to do, but this is a new way we do it now. And we'll just go left shift. And that's all we have to do. And you see how we've got jump, move, look, except we're not going to have, I'm not going to put jump on this character right now. So just, we can add additional body movements later. Right now, I just want the main character walking, idling, and running in the game. And that's all we need. Because primarily that's all we're going to be filming. I'm not planning to film him jumping anywhere. Okay, so now we're done with that, and we can just go up here into the characters level, and we're going to go ahead and import our animations. Now for this you need 3 animations. You need an idle, a walk, and a run. The walk and the run need to be in place. On Mixamo you'll see a box to check that says in place. Make sure in place is checked. And then you also need to download the character in T-pose. I've already done that to save time, so I'm just going to go ahead and import them right now. So I'm going to go to add, I'm going to go to import, I'm going to go to download where I downloaded them. So here is my character in T-pose, and I'm going to go open. The only thing we need to do here is under advanced, use the T-pose as a reference pose and import all. That brings in a lot of files when it does, and don't worry about that. But we don't really get any errors. See, there's double of everything. I think they had to rename things, prevent a conflict or something, so it doubled up. Now we've got our T-pose character in, and that's the character's name right here. The skeletal mesh is T-pose. And we're going to go ahead and add our animations now, import, and here they are. So here's, you can pick, when you go to Mixamo, you'll see different ones you can pick, but I found one called the standard run, which I think is good, and then the walking, and both of these need to be in place and without the skin, and then the breathing idle, import that without the skin, and then just go open, and import all. And you'll see there's our 3 animations. Now that we have those animations, we're going to go ahead and blend them all into one, in what's called a blend space. So we're going to right click, go to animation, go to blend space, and tie this to our T-pose character. We're going to call this BS for blend space, and just call it Mixamo. And that's that. Then we're going to create our animation blueprint. So we're going to right click, go to animation, animation blueprint, tie that to our skeleton, and we're going to call this ABP underscore Mixamo. So we are sure who and what it is. Now this is basically going to do the behind the scenes blending of all those animations together. It will need the blend space to do that. So we're going to double click into this and we're going to drag this up here. But before I do that, I guess we should go into our blend space and actually put those these three animations in it. So let's go into the blend space first. And we only need to do a couple things in here. So you'll see over here, let me make this window bigger. You know, I did something that I didn't mean to do. And okay, on this is the new blend space, and it's basically on 2 axes. And I've been having problems with this one. So what we actually need to do is let's use the older blend space. So let's go ahead and right click and go to animation, legacy, blend space 1D. And this is the same as the other, except it's just on 1 axis. So I'm not sure why they made this legacy, but I was having problems with the new blend space. So we're going to go BS Mixamo 1D, just so that we know what it is. In fact, we might be able just to delete this since it's not referencing anything. Yeah, just delete that. Okay. So now double click into this. See, and it just has 1 axis, not 2. And what we'll do is go onto the horizontal axis here. We're going to call this speed. We're going to set the max value to 300. Why 300? Because I already tested it and that's the best speed to put it at. Then we've got our breathing idle. We're going to left click on it and drag it over here by this X. It's actually this X that alerted me that this was the 1D, because the X on the 2D one is down here in the corner. And I was like, why is that not in the middle? And be sure to drag it on here in the middle. And then we're going to click on walking and drag that over here, just maybe on the other side of 150. Don't drag it right there. And then we're going to get our run. Make sure to click on it and just drag it right there. And that's all we have to do in here. There's a lot more stuff you could play around with, but that's all we need to do in here for now. And if you press Control and move that green arrow, that green X, you can see the varying animations in play. So we'll save, but basically we're done with that. Okay, so now we're in the animation blueprint here, and this is where most of our work needs to be. And when I first got into this, this was really super confusing and intimidating because there's a lot involved. But once you do it a few times, if I weren't talking, I could probably do this in like 8 minutes. What I'm trying to say is this is a very easy thing to do once you get the steps down. So anyway, we need to add a state into this. So we're going to right click, a state machine. So we're going to right click and search for state machine right here. You can call this whatever you want, but really what it is this is our animation for our locomotion. So locomotion here, and we're just going to drag this over to here and hook that up. Then if we double click into this is going to take us into our state machine, basically, and it wants a state to be put into. So we need to create a state. I believe we can drag off of here and just go add state, and we can call this idle to run. It needs something in here. We're going to actually double click onto this, get our blend space, drag it over here, and hook this into here. And then it's going to be fed off a speed variable. So we're going to create that variable right now. And the easiest way, fastest way is to right click and just go promote to variable. And it creates it right over there. And there's that. And you can see it, how the feed is working. So believe it or not, we can add, if we went into our state machine here, we can add additional behaviors like a jump and stuff, but we're not going to do that today. We're just getting the basic locomotion going. So now once we're done with all this, we can go into our event graph here. And this is the last thing that we need to do. We're going to drag off of here. We could also cast to our BP third person, but we're using this node that says try to get pawn owner. And I don't know why try get. It's like get it. Don't just try. There is no try, just do, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to get the movement component right here. And then the next thing we want is the velocity. So we'll go velocity. and get that. And the last thing we need to tell basically how fast the velocity is going is the length. So we're going to get vector length. And with that selected, all we have to do is get the speed variable over here and set it, hook up speed, and then just drag in our exec pin into there. And that basically concludes building our animation graph. Of course, it can get more complicated if we want to add additional behaviors, but like a jump or a crouch or whatever. But we'll do that at in another tutorial. I just want to get through this one just to get our player up and running and walking in the scene. Literally up and running is what I want to do. So now we'll go into the third person. And now all we have to do is set up this last things to get this actually hooked up. So we're going to go into the third person blueprint right here. Click on that. We're going to duplicate this and name this BP underscore Mixamo. We could also make a child of this, but this gives us more access to everything that we need. So we're going to now double click into this. And this is the last part of what we really kind of need to do in here. So the one thing we need to do is add in our run function that we talked about earlier. And you see how we have all these input actions, right? We have a jump key, an input, but we don't actually have a jump behavior. But that's okay. We can add that later. But what we do want is a run. So we're going to right click and search for IA run. And it's this one. It's an event. And then we'll click this to make it bigger. And then we're going to get our movement component here. And we're going to search for something called set max walk speed. This one right here. With it selected, we can press Control D to duplicate it. Started is the same as pressed. And we're going to want the max speed to jump up to 300 when we press it. And when we let go, completed is the same as released. We want it to go back to our normal max walk speed, which is 150. And basically this is our you could call it our sprint function. And if you wanted to, we could just press C here and make a comment here. If we want to get, nice and official about it here, and just double click here and call this sprint. Okay, there's that. So that takes care of all that. Now we just need to hook up the last components. What am I getting an error for? Oh, because I didn't hook that up. Okay. All right. And then we're done with all that. And that all looks good. So now let's go into our viewport. We're going to click on this one. And over here, there's also a max walk speed that we can set. It's right here, and it's set to 500. And what we're going to do is just set it to 300. Oh, I take that back. We're going to set it to 150. Might as well set that one to 152, even though he's not crouched. Okay. And the last thing that we need to do is just swap out our character mesh here. And if we come in here, we actually only have two things left to do. So if we click on here and we get our T-pose skeletal mesh, you see he's in T-pose. Then the last thing we need to do, the very last thing, is just hook up the animation blueprint we just made. And that is APB Mixamo right there. And you'll see now he's the same as any character always is. Now notice his height is -89. So let's compile and save. And actually there is one last thing we need to do, is if we go into Windows and World Settings, we do need to come here to Game Mode, Override, and change our default pawn class to our BP Mixamo character. And save that. And now we should all be rigged up. So I don't know how long did that take, 20 minutes, but I was talking the whole time, right? So we hit play. There's our character in idle. And if I hit W, You see he's walking nicely. I hit shift, he starts running. I let go, he's back to walking. And that's it. If I hit S, he's coming toward me. So it's nice, right? If I had spacebar, oh, I don't know where that jump is coming from. He might be inheriting that from. He's probably inheriting that from the Manny blueprint, but we could change that out. But that's not in our animation blueprint, so just forget about that. We would add our own jump for that, which is actually very easy to do if you've done this already. You basically know. But you see, there's kind of a lot of little wires to hook up, and that's it. But now I've got this character that I can use. This really super cool character that looks better than, all different kinds. And because you can't see his face, now you can just do a voiceover or whatever to give this character a voice, and you don't have to worry about any lip sync or anything like that. So anyway, take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.